What happens when your first interaction finally happens after no contact? What shifts in that moment? What truth shows up between you and an avoidant the second your paths cross again? People ask this question constantly, and the truth is far deeper than anything they ever openly admit. Most people think avoidants appear cold, detached, and unreadable in that first moment, but psychology tells a very different story. There's a silent intensity beneath the surface, something happening before they even register it consciously. And today, you're about to understand the weight of that moment, not what they do, not how they act, but why that first interaction after no contact holds so much significance. Take a deep breath. Because once you understand this psychological moment, you'll never look at that first interaction the same way again. That first moment, that first second after silence, distance, and space, carries more truth than weeks of conversation ever could. Avoidants can rehearse conversations, they can plan their approach, they can tell themselves they've detached, moved on, or shut down emotionally. But there's a point where planning ends and reality takes over, and reality always exposes what the mind tries to hide. It's the moment where their logic, their walls, their distance, and their defenses collide with reality. It's the moment their attachment system meets the person they've been avoiding, and something inside them recognizes what's real. Not behavior, not reaction, not expression, just the truth of what that moment represents. It's the crack in the emotional story they told themselves. It's the space where suppressed emotions collide with actual presence. It's the point where silence meets reality. And in today's video, we're going to break down exactly why that first interaction after no contact matters so much, and what it reveals psychologically. Their body language exposes the truth. The very first thing that happens when an avoidant sees you after no contact isn't something they say. It isn't a rehearsed line, a cool greeting, or even an attempt to hide emotion. It's something far more telling. Their body reacts first, often before their mind even catches up. Psychology is very clear on this point. The human body responds to emotional stimuli before the conscious mind can rationalize or control it. It's why even people who believe themselves to be composed, calm, or detached will often betray themselves in micro-movements, posture shifts, and fleeting facial expressions. For avoidants, who spend so much of their lives managing, suppressing, or avoiding intense emotional experiences, this reaction is both subtle and profound. Their body communicates truth before words can form. Even before you notice a change in their tone or the way they speak, their body is already telling a story that often contradicts the carefully constructed persona they want you to see. Every posture, every glance, every hesitation contains a fragment of raw emotional truth, and understanding this is the key to reading what they're really experiencing when they see you after no contact. Here's how it manifests, almost instantly. 1. The freeze response. The very first reaction you're likely to notice is a pause, a freeze. They stop mid-step, hold their gaze for a split second, or hesitate before moving forward. At first glance, it might look like indifference or a lack of care, but in reality, the freeze often reflects the opposite. They care far more than they can manage, yet they are unsure how to navigate the intensity of seeing you again. Think of it like a reflex. Their nervous system instantly scans, processes, and evaluates the emotional situation before their conscious mind can act. Memories, suppressed emotions, and the surge of presence from someone who once meant a lot flood in simultaneously. The body reacts before the brain can formulate a defense. That brief pause, even if only a fraction of a second, communicates a depth of feeling that their words might never reveal. For example, imagine walking into a room after months of silence. They freeze for just a moment, and it feels almost imperceptible, but their body has already registered the shock, curiosity, and recognition of your presence. That tiny pause speaks volumes. It's a glimpse behind the mask, the first crack in the emotional armor they built around themselves. 2. The protective shift immediately following the freeze. You may notice a subtle physical adjustment. They may turn their body slightly away, cross their arms, step back, or angle themselves to create a small barrier. This is commonly misunderstood as rejection, coldness, or disinterest. But in reality, it's a protective mechanism, a way to regulate their internal response to the flood of emotion. Avoidants are wired to manage emotional intensity by creating distance. When faced with someone who once held significant emotional weight in their life, this instinct kicks in automatically. The physical distance, crossed arms, or a slight pivot of the torso is not a push away from you, it's a means of self-regulation. They are trying to calm themselves, to contain what they feel internally, and to prevent those feelings from overwhelming them in real time. This shift is often so subtle that you might not even consciously notice it, but it is a clear indicator that something significant is happening internally. It's their nervous system's way of keeping control when emotions start to surge. 3. The emotional scan. After the freeze and the protective shift, their attention subtly moves into what psychologists call an emotional scan. Their eyes flick toward you, often almost unconsciously, scanning your facial expressions, posture, energy, and even micro-movements. This happens in less than a second, but it's a key part of how avoidants process interactions. They are assessing, are you calm? Are you distant? Are you upset? Have you moved on? Are you approachable? Their nervous system is gathering data before their conscious mind even knows it. Even if they are telling themselves that they feel nothing, the body cannot lie. This scan is instinctive. It's their mind trying to map the emotional landscape before deciding how to behave, and it's almost impossible for them to suppress entirely, no matter how skilled they are at emotional regulation. 4. The controlled face. Finally, after the initial freeze, protective shift, and rapid emotional scan, they attempt to regain composure. You might notice their expression quickly settling into calm neutrality, or even indifference. This is the controlled face, the mask they wear whenever emotions feel threatening or overwhelming. It's important to understand that this is not manipulative in a conscious sense, it's an instinctive shield. Their body has already responded emotionally, but their mind wants to appear unaffected, composed and unbothered. The mask is a signal that despite the internal surge of feeling, they are attempting to maintain control and protect themselves from vulnerability. Even with the mask in place, their body has already conveyed the truth, a truth that careful observation can reveal if you know what to look for. Why this matters: these 4 reactions, the freeze, the protective shift, the emotional scan, and the controlled face, happen almost simultaneously, often within seconds. They are automatic, reflexive, and impossible to fully conceal. Even the most disciplined avoidant cannot entirely stop their body from reacting to someone who once held emotional significance in their life. Paying attention to these cues is key. They reveal what words often cannot. The body communicates tension, hesitation, surprise, and even vulnerability before a single word is spoken. It's the raw, unfiltered truth of their emotional state, exposed in the very first moments of contact. When you understand these behaviors, you can see beyond the carefully constructed mask. You can recognize the subtle signs of internal struggle, the unspoken acknowledgement of your presence, and the emotional resonance that they try so hard to suppress. In short, when an avoidant appears calm or indifferent, remember their body has already told the story before their lips even moved. Why they react like this after no contact? An avoidant's instant reactions are never random. Every micro-expression, posture shift, and subtle glance happens for a reason. Understanding why they react this way helps you see beyond behavior into the psychology driving it. Let's break it down. The first reason is confronted with what they can't control. Avoidants are triggered the very moment they encounter something they cannot manage or predict. Your presence after a period of no contact is precisely that, a situation outside their control. For someone who has spent years carefully constructing emotional boundaries, maintaining distance or suppressing intense feelings, seeing you again is like a disruption to their carefully maintained order. It's not merely a casual interaction, it's a sudden collision with reality they have tried to sidestep. Avoidants thrive in controlled environments. They are adept at managing emotional dynamics by keeping things predictable, creating distance when feelings become overwhelming, and regulating situations to avoid discomfort. But when you return into their world, even if only for a brief encounter, none of these mechanisms work the same way. The rules they relied upon, the sense of distance, emotional safety, or detachment, are suddenly gone. Their nervous system, which reacts faster than conscious thought, immediately registers this breach. That subtle freeze you notice, the protective shift, or the almost imperceptible hesitation, is not a conscious maneuver. It is an instinctive response, a signal from their body that says this is unpredictable, emotionally intense, and I am unsure how to navigate it. What makes this so revealing is that the reaction occurs before the mind has time to rationalize. Avoidants are practiced at presenting calm, neutral or indifferent facades, but the body responds in real time. The very first second after no contact exposes an involuntary truth. Their system is reacting to something larger than them, the emotional presence of someone who once mattered deeply. The micro-expressions, the fleeting pause in movement, the slight adjustment of posture, all of these subtle cues are their body telling the truth before their conscious mind can catch up. Essentially, they are confronted with a reality they cannot dominate. This is not about manipulation, calculated behavior, or intentional distance. It's about the human system reacting to emotional intensity in a way that cannot be completely suppressed. The moment you appear, their attachment system, emotional memory, and nervous system all collide in milliseconds. That collision creates the very body language cues you are witnessing. Even if they mask their emotions immediately afterward, the initial unfiltered response is automatic, involuntary, and profoundly revealing. In short, your sudden presence after no contact forces an avoidant out of the controlled space they usually inhabit. It triggers a response that exposes the tension between their desire to appear composed and the internal disruption they feel. That freeze, that shift, that subtle hesitation, these are all signs that in that instant, they are grappling with something unpredictable and uncontrollable. And this is why observing their body language in those first seconds is so important. It provides a window into the emotions they attempt to manage, suppress or hide, revealing the deeper truth beneath their carefully maintained exterior. The second reason is overwhelmed by unexpected emotions. Avoidants fear emotional intensity far more than most people realize. For years they have mastered the art of distancing themselves from feelings they cannot manage, suppressing vulnerability, and building walls to avoid discomfort or exposure. Their lives are structured around maintaining emotional equilibrium, carefully navigating interactions to prevent being swept into waves of feeling they consider dangerous or destabilizing. Yet when you reappear after a period of no contact, all of that preparation is instantly challenged. Your presence is not just a casual encounter, it is a sudden surge of emotions they didn't anticipate. That first look, the brief eye contact, the subtle recognition that they are facing someone who once mattered deeply, triggers a cascade of internal responses. Their nervous system responds before their conscious mind even has a chance to intervene. This is why you see the freeze, the protective shift, the fleeting glances, or the controlled face. Each of these reactions is a bodily manifestation of emotional overwhelm. It is not a reflection of indifference or coldness, rather it is their body struggling to process the unexpected intensity of the situation in real time. Avoidance bodies communicate what their minds try to regulate. The sudden appearance of someone they have tried to distance themselves from creates a flood of feelings: curiosity, tension, surprise, longing, even a subtle trace of attachment. These feelings are uninvited, unpredictable, and difficult for them to navigate, which is why their micro-expressions, posture adjustments, and subtle movements happen so rapidly and often imperceptibly. The rapid eye scan, the slight shift of weight, or the brief pause in movement are all signals that their emotional system is working overtime to evaluate the situation, understand your energy, and protect themselves from being overwhelmed. It's important to recognize that these reactions are instinctive and automatic. Even if they appear calm or neutral externally, internally they are grappling with a complex storm of emotions. The unexpected nature of this encounter overwhelms them precisely because they are not in control. They cannot suppress or manage the feelings as efficiently as they thought. This is the reason why avoidants often appear contradictory in that first interaction. Moments of seeming composure are interrupted by subtle, almost subconscious gestures that reveal tension, internal conflict, and heightened emotional arousal. In essence, your presence acts like a trigger that exposes the suppressed emotional reality beneath their carefully constructed exterior. The intensity is invisible to most, but their body cannot hide it. Observing these subtle signs provides insight into the internal struggle they experience when confronted with emotions they are not prepared to handle. So, when you notice these rapid, almost imperceptible cues, the freeze, the scan, the micro-movement, the controlled expression, understand that this is not manipulation or indifference, it is their system reacting instinctively to a flood of emotions they are suddenly forced to face. This is the reason why avoidants behave the way they do in that first interaction, overwhelmed, instinct-driven, and navigating feelings that they would normally keep at a distance. The third reason is the truth. Their body can't hide. No matter how much avoidants try to control their expression, their body often tells the truth before their words, gestures, or demeanor can. They may have spent years perfecting a mask of calm neutrality, indifference, or emotional detachment, but even the most practiced exterior cannot fully suppress the subtle signals their body emits when confronted with someone they once cared for. In that first interaction, after no contact, the internal conflict between their mind and body becomes undeniable, and that is why these micro-reactions are so revealing. The freeze, the protective shift, the rapid emotional scan, all of it is instinctive, pre-conscious, and unavoidable. These are physical manifestations of internal recognition, unresolved attachment, and lingering feelings. Even if their mind insists that they feel nothing, that they are fully detached, or that the interaction is just normal, the body doesn't lie. It communicates tension, hesitation, slight surprise, or even a subtle vulnerability that slips through the carefully maintained mask of indifference. Every subtle movement, the way they adjust their stance, shift their weight, or flick their eyes toward you, reflects the truth that their system is reacting emotionally, even before logic or reasoning steps in. Understanding this is critical to grasping why avoidants behave the way they do after no contact. Their body reacts first because it cannot ignore the emotional stimuli that arise in real time. The mind may attempt to suppress, rationalize, or distance itself from what they feel, but the nervous system operates independently of conscious control. These micro-reactions, a pause, a slight turn, a glance, or a subtle tightening of the jaw, are the body processing emotions the mind is still trying to organize or deny. They are the unfiltered expressions of what has been suppressed, avoided, or controlled for months or even years. Each reaction carries meaning. The freeze signals the instant recognition of emotional weight they weren't expecting. The protective shift reflects the need to manage intensity, to create space between themselves and the surge of feelings. The emotional scan is the body's way of reading your energy, checking if it is safe to engage, or if retreat is necessary. The controlled face is the final attempt to regulate visible responses, but even here, micro-signals of attachment, recognition, or unease can be detected by an attentive observer. In short, the truth their body cannot hide is a roadmap to understanding what their mind refuses to admit. It shows that beneath the layers of avoidance, detachment, or indifference, there is an emotional system responding instinctively. It reveals the presence of attachment, lingering care, or subtle recognition of your significance. Their body communicates what their words will not, and in that first interaction, after no contact, it is the body that always speaks first. So when you notice these cues, the freeze, the protective stance, the micro-expressions, and the rapid emotional scan, recognize them for what they are, the unfiltered truth of their emotional state. No matter how composed they appear externally, their body exposes what lies beneath, providing insight into feelings they cannot fully control or hide. Now that you've seen how avoidants react after no contact, it's important to pause and reflect. The first interaction isn't about manipulation, chasing, or proving a point. It's about observing, understanding, and reading the unspoken signals. Their body reveals more than their words ever could, and recognizing these cues can give you clarity about the emotional landscape between you two. Here's a simple suggestion: the next time you encounter someone who has avoided connection, don't rush to interpret their actions or create a story in your mind. Take a step back and observe. Notice the subtle freezes, shifts, scans, or controlled expressions. See them as windows into their internal state, not as judgments of your worth or their feelings toward you. The more you focus on observation instead of reaction, the more empowered you become in understanding the dynamics without being emotionally pulled in. Remember, your priority is always your own emotional stability. Avoidance may trigger curiosity, nostalgia, or even unresolved feelings, but your calm presence and awareness give you control over your own responses. Let these moments be learning opportunities. Understand, don't chase. Reflect, don't react. Recognize, don't overanalyze. If you take one thing away from this, it's this: awareness is power. Seeing the truth behind their body language allows you to navigate interactions without being manipulated or overwhelmed. It's a subtle art, but mastering it changes how you view relationships and gives you clarity about what you truly deserve. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Share your thoughts or experiences in the comments. Your story might help someone else understand avoidant behavior better. Stay observant, stay grounded, and always value your own emotional health first.